grey slate headstones, carved inscriptions, pitted and blurred by the weather, an old churchyard reveals little about people, except that they died and that someone remembered them. But this man, Dr. Jack Trevor, has found enough evidence in this churchyard to keep him busy for 30 years. He first came here when he was a student at Oxford, and wherever his work has taken him since, he has always remembered and returned to this place. Now, as director of the Duckworth Laboratory of Physical Anthropology at Cambridge, he's come back to Rothwell in Leicestershire. Its main glory now is the fine Church of Trinity. And this small doorway, cut into the wall of the south porch, a doorway which has revealed almost conclusively to Dr. Trevor what our ancestors were like. A study which has been exciting, if somewhat bizarre. The bone crypt at Rothwell is an anthropologist's paradise. It's the biggest and most complete collection of skulls in Britain. No one knows exactly how many bodies are down here. Dr. Trevor has counted 1,500 skulls, and there's evidence in 2 large piles of arm, thigh, and shin bones of many more skeletons. One estimate has put it as high as 11,000. Dr. Trevor conservatively estimates over 2,000. The bone crypt was discovered over 200 years ago when the sexton fell through the roof of the crypt while digging a grave in the south aisle. As one local historian puts it, as soon as the dust had settled, he tried to move, and the bones of the forgotten dead rattled underneath him. He put out his hands and his fingers poked into the eye sockets of decaying skulls. The crypt soon became a macabre tourist attraction, with romantic legends of how the bones got here. Some said they were the remains of Danes, slaughtered in battle by the Saxons, and thrown into the crypt, which was used as a place of pilgrimage by Saxon warriors who wanted to strengthen their bloodlust before the next battle. Others said they were the dead from the nearby Battle of Naseby, when Cromwell's Ironsides finally defeated King Charles's cavaliers. But romance doesn't stand up to painstaking scientific investigation. Dr. Trevor, what have your researches revealed? Who were these people?
Well, the normal population of Rothwell between the Norman conquest and, say, about 1600, when the deposit of bones in the crypt seems to have stopped. We get that from the evidence of tiles and things found here, and by anthropological comparisons.
So they're all the one group?
Oh, heavens, no. They're 2 entirely different groups, separated by an interval of about 300 years. The earlier one, in my view, and I don't think there's anything to controvert it, is this type of skull. If I may show you it from the top, so to speak, the breadth is about 80% of the length.
Very broad, in fact.
Very broad, and the skull is a high one above the...
A very good forehead on him.
Quite a good forehead, yes. Not that that means so much. The second one, which is the later, and I think there's a deal of evidence to show that, is a much longer skull, breadth about 75% of the length, and a very low one with a characteristic retreating forehead.
You say that one's later, and yet it looks a much less intelligent man. It looks much more sort of Iron Bronze Age type of...
Not bronze, Iron Age, and indeed it is. In fact, I'm sorry, this is a heresy. We're not Anglo-Saxons. We're the type of chaps that Caesar found here. That is the non-Belgic ones. That was the majority of the population then, and it is again today.
Well, who are these other people with the high foreheads?
Well, these people can be compared with various populations in France, in Paris, about 1,200 from the Cité Cemetery, and with the people who live in the southwest of France today.
They were Frenchmen who came over when, then?
I should think in the train of William the Conqueror.
There are a lot of French skulls down here, and yet you say that our present-day skulls look much more like the ancient Britons. Why didn't the French have more influence?
That's a difficult question to answer. There are two possible solutions to that problem. One, the Black Death and its selective influence on townspeople, because remember this was an urban population, and two, the loss of the English king's dominions in France.
So the French were aware in the towns and got hit by the Black Death far worse than the ancient Britain type.
That is our experience.
What do the local people think about you working down here amongst all these bones?
They think one's rather brave to undertake it, as I have had to, in the church, working up, not to the small hours, but up to 11 o'clock.
And all alone?
And all alone, yes.
No ghosts?
None that I've noticed particularly.
Have a good night.